Hello APChem students, here is a video to help you get ready for your first lab. Alright, for our first lab what we want to do is a chemical reaction that will allow us to do some calculations and figure out an empirical formula. Okay, so the compound that we're going to use this time is magnesium oxide. Alright, go ahead and look up magnesium and oxygen and their oxidation number and try to predict what you think it should be. Alright, and not only predict it, but think about what your results could be that would prove that it's what you think and what might disprove what you think. And if you're not really sure about that, we'll talk about it once you get to class and before you start. Alright, so here's what you need to do this lab. You need a strip of magnesium, if you can see how dull gray that is. You need steel wool to help clean off that magnesium. You need a crucible. Looks like a little tiny coffee cup with a lid, and a Bunsen burner. If you can, I'm going to tilt the screen so you can see it. Right now I just finished the experiment myself, so I don't want to touch it, it's a little hot. There's a Bunsen burner, which you will need. You'll need a ring stand, you'll need the ring, you'll need the clay triangle that goes in the ring, and your crucible will sit in that clay triangle. Okay. You will also need a crucible tong so that you don't have to touch it. These are the tongs with the funny little bend in them. They're not very big, they're thin. Remember, crucibles are small. You'll need a striker so you can light your Bunsen burner. And you'll have time to get this later, but you might want to grab a barrel pipette in the meantime. You'll need some water and one of these little plastic pipettes. That's the barrel pipette I'm talking about. Alrighty, that should be everything you need. Now, safety-wise, you can see my hair is tied back, my glasses are on, I'm wearing my handy-dandy safety coat. Make sure you're wearing your goggles at all times. For this lab, because we'll be burning the magnesium, it will produce UV light, which you won't necessarily see, but it's harmful to your eyes. So if you are uncomfortable with that, you can do this lab and just not look directly at it while it's burning, or if you want to, feel free to bring in your sunglasses with UV protection. I have some goggles that will fit over that. It should be fine. Alright, so the first thing you want to do, once you have all of your materials gathered, is take your crucible. It looks kind of dirty on the inside. What I want you to go do is wash it, okay? You're going to use soap and water, you're going to use a brush, you're going to use anything you can to scrub this out the best you can. Your experiment will go better if the only residue in there is the minimal amount, as in 0 if possible. Okay, so you'll scrub it out, wash it out the best you can, rinse it off, then go ahead and dry it off with paper towels. It won't dry it completely. As you know, porcelain, especially when it's not completely glazed over, it absorbs moisture. So what you'll do, once you've dried it off the best you can, is go ahead and turn on your Bunsen burner, and you're going to set this on there. You might want to do the pieces separately just so that you completely dry them out. You can go ahead and put it really close to the Bunsen burner. It might even glow red a little bit. That should dry it out. So leave it like that for a minute or two, and then take it off with your tongs, set it on the countertop. Yes, it's okay to set it on the lab countertop. It will not break. These countertops are good at taking the heat, drawing the heat off, but it should do so at a manner slow enough that it won't break your crucible. Okay. While you're waiting for it to cool, what you should do is get your magnesium ribbon from me. Alright, it'll be a dull gray color. What you want to do is clean it off. So with the steel wool, you're going to scrub at it until it's shiny again. And once that happens, you're ready to use it. Okay, hopefully your crucible and lid is cooled off. It should be the same temperature as the countertop or things that maybe aren't going to feel so cold. But it should be room temperature, so it shouldn't be warm to the touch. Once it is cooled off, go ahead and mass the crucible and lid that is empty. You need to record that value. Now that your magnesium is ready, you can cut it up into little pieces and put it inside the crucible so that none of it's coming out. It's not keeping the lid from being on tight. Once you've cut it up and put it in there, now you're going to mass this again. And this is your before mass. So before the reaction, here's your mass, and you'll be able to subtract out the empty lid and the crucible later. Once you have that set up, if you've turned your Bunsen burner off, you're going to want to go back and turn that on. Okay, you need to gently heat the mixture, this compound, And so what I would suggest doing is with your ring stand, start with your ring up high because the heat is going to rise from your Bunsen burner. Let it kind of warm up a little bit that way, and then you can move it down as you know that it gets warmer, okay? You do actually want this to sit right on top of the flame, okay? If you have a small flame especially, go ahead and put it down here. As you're waiting for it to heat, you're moving it down progressively. Once you have it in position, you're going to leave it like that, and you should be heating it for a couple of minutes. Okay, one thing you need to know is if you are just heating it, that's going to cause some problems. It's going to not go very fast. You need to allow some air in so that it can keep reacting. So you want to take your tongs and take the lid off. Don't do what I just did because I wasn't really paying attention. Okay, if I'm going to take this lid off, all I want to do is let in the oxygen. I don't want to look at the light yet. It's only been 20 seconds, especially this first couple times, so I know it won't be totally reacted yet. So I want to lift it up, but not enough that I see what's inside. And then when I do want to check it, I'm going to lift it up and try to see how much. If it's glowing, I'm not going to look at it. If it's not glowing very brightly anymore, and it looks like everything has turned to ash, you know, if you've watched a campfire go dwindling down before, it starts to look like ash after a while. So once most of it looks like ash and it looks like it's fully reacted, I want you to take this lid and leave it on a tilt so that it can get a continuous supply of oxygen, and any last little bits can completely react. So you're going to leave it like that for about a minute. Okay, and you might not be able to see this really well, so I'll show you again in class. Alright, after that minute, you're going to want to take this down so that it can cool. You're going to turn your burner off, so on and so forth. I recommend not inhaling anything that comes out. Okay, so keep your face away from this experiment. Remember, don't look directly at it. When you're ready to cool it, I would leave the lid on because it'll still be glowing. Alright, so you'll take it down, set it on the countertop. After a second, I would take the lid off and separate it. That way, if you separate those two hot pieces, they'll cool down a little bit faster, especially away from these other pieces that hold on to the heat for a little bit longer. Okay, so once you've turned your burner off, you're letting that cool. Now you have plenty of time to go get some water and this barrel pipette. Okay, so I have a little beaker full of water. I just like to have that on hand, and then I could use as much as I want. Use this sparingly, but what you're going to want to do is do this a drop at a time. You have to wait until your crucible is cool enough that it's room temperature again. So if it's still warm to the touch, it's too warm. Okay. Wait until it's cooled off. You'll have plenty of time to get this water. And when you do, I want you to do just a few drops and try and get a drop on every part of the magnesium. What this is going to do is dissolve the nitrides so that they're not doing a different reaction. This will help us progress the way we want to through it. I can explain more about that later too. But just a little bit. If you do too much water, you could cause your crucible to crack either while it's on the countertop or when you put it back on the flame. So be very careful with the water you're putting on it. Once you've put the water on it, you can cover it back up completely. Don't put it on the side like it was before. Okay? And you're going to heat it again for about a minute, but now you don't have to worry about cracking the lid every 20 seconds. So once you put it back on and your burner's going, time it for about a minute. It doesn't have to be exactly 60 seconds, but keep pretty close to it. Don't let it go for too long. After that, I want you to shut your burner off and let it cool just like this. So mine's been sitting here and cooling while we're talking. That's a good way for you to go back to your lab notebook, record your masses, make sure everything's ready to go there. Once this cools so that it's room temperature again, not warm to the touch, you can mass this, and this will be your after mass. And then from there, you'll be able to do all of your calculations and check your predictions. Alrighty. Don't forget to make your prediction before you get to class. And if you have any questions, email me. Alright. Have a good night.